Season 18, The Return to the Devil's Roar, has just launched in the Sea of Thieves, and things have taken a dark turn. Season 18 introduced us to the Banished Ancients, one group of Banished Ancients in particular, the Eternal Guard, ghostly warriors bound to their armor to defend and protect sanctuaries of the Banished. These sanctuaries can be located at Flame's End, Brimstone Rock, and Cinder Islet. Flame's End serves as the sanctuary of the Unending Flame, Brimstone Rock serves as the Sanctuary of the Veil, and finally Cinder Islet serves as the Sanctuary of the Dark Widow. These warriors are eternally pledged to serve the Widow, one of the Banished Dark Ancients, introduced long ago in Season 13 when her ancient temple and prison was unearthed, and a skeleton camp was built on top of it to mine for obsidian. Later, in Season 16, Reaper's Rule, her followers' sarcophagi were unearthed when pirates sailed on a voyage for Flameheart to go and retrieve their skulls bearing the Widow's mark. Prior to Season 17, Flameheart used the information collected from the Orb of Secrets found in the ancient temples to locate the Sanctuaries of the Banished. He hid this knowledge on the paintings we collected for the mysterious client during the heist in Season 17, Smuggler's Tide. This led to the smugglers locating these sanctuaries and unearthing them using the highly explosive dark powder barrels. However, this was all for nothing if they couldn't open these sanctuaries. Smugglers working for the Dark Brethren smuggled information from the skulls of the Banished to locate and unearth the sarcophagi of the Eternal Guard found in the Devil's Roar, giving access to the mysteries located inside the sanctuaries. Duke reveals to us that the Banished Ancients are resurrected using the same magic as the Skeleton Curse, where your soul is bound to your bones, effectively cheating death, one might say. I personally believe that it's only a matter of time until the Widow herself is truly resurrected by the smugglers working for the Dark Brethren. But I think I should break this all down in greater detail in my next video, which will be a full recap of the story of these ancients. So, with my lore rant out of the way, let's get into the gameplay. My journey begins with two Umber Splashtails. These are the rarest variant of the Splashtail fish needed to progress towards the legendary hunter of the Sea of Thieves. And after a quick stop at Flintlock Peninsula, my crewmates Book, Zen, and I made our way to Fetcher's Rest to awaken the Eternal God. At this point in time, I still needed to complete 6 deeds for Season 18, Act 1, and I was not even close to finishing my Act 1 commendations. After awakening the Eternal God, it was a fight to the death. This epic battle is different from anything else we've ever seen in the Sea of Thieves. The Eternal God has many different abilities that may seem confusing at first. The Guard's Spectre form allows it to traverse the island at great speeds. It can deal very heavy damage with a spear throw. The Eternal God wields a blowpipe, which will either fire black powder or potent poison darts. Very often, the Eternal God will emerge from its Spectre form and smash open a poison bomb, creating a sickly purple fog that poisons you if you get too close. The Eternal God also possesses the power to raise ancient skeletons from the ground to fight for them. This can easily become overwhelming. The final ability only occurs at the end of the battle once the Eternal God is defeated. When the Guard's health bar reaches 0, it creates an enormous purple explosion, instantly wiping you out if you were too close, or launching you far away. This is the most engaging emergent island content we've seen in a while for this game, and it doesn't come without its hilarious Sea of Thieves moments. I managed to save Zen just in time. These battles can drag on for a while, but honestly, that doesn't bother me. These fights are so engaging, and the Eternal God is a great PvE match for me and my crew that the time passes quick. And before we knew it, we had defeated the Eternal God and were able to claim the Sanctuary of the Banished Key. The first sanctuary we visited was the Sanctuary of the Dark Widow. These sanctuaries contain such a crazy amount of loot that almost every trading company wants to get their hands and hooks on. And in fact, there is so much loot in these sanctuaries that it takes forever to collect everything, let alone sell it all. And we actually had a second key, which we used to unlock the Sanctuary of the Veil at Brimstone Rock. And upon unlocking the sanctuary, I was awarded with the Robber of the Sanctuary of the Veil Commendation. And after another run of hauling loot up to our brigantine, it was time for us to sell. But the seas had other plans for us. Before we barely left Brimstone Rock, we were hunted down by the Crested Queen. This was an opportunity to seize, however, because our newly claimed Tridents of the Banished, which deal a crazy amount of damage, were put to good use as they literally melt megalodons. And during this fight, I unlocked the Helm of the Sea Beast's Battle Commendation, but this was way off being grade 5. Before long though, we made our way to Mara's Peak Outpost and claimed the gold for our treasure. And this stuff sells for a lot. Even without an emissary, we were still making a truckload of gold. However, to unlock the Trader of Banished Tablets commendation, we would need to sell our Banished Tablets to a Smugglers League representative. So, we sailed to Ruby's Fall and sold the tablets to Laughing Fox Lucio. The next day at Mars Peak Outpost, I spoke to Lorena, and we discussed the new smugglers in the Devil's Roar, as well as Captain Flameheart's interest in the Devil's Roar and the recently awakened Ancients. Even after defeating a couple of Dark Ancients and selling that absolute stack of loot, I was still far off from completing my commendations. So, I prepared for the voyage ahead, destroyed 3 cursed mermaid statues, 1 blown blade captain, and barely escaped a volcanic eruption, and I mean barely. Before long, we were bound for the shores of Gold to fish for Ashen Keys, which proved to be reliable but very time-consuming. And once we had enough Ashen Keys, we headed back to the Devil's Roar to defeat some more Eternal Gods. And after sinking 1 more skeleton sloop, we begun our next battle. Unfortunately, I made the mistake of standing right next to a keg as the Eternal God woke up. After a long and grueling battle, we were able to claim our next sanctuary of the Banished Key. And since we had spent all that time in the shores of Gold fishing for Ashen Keys, we were able to use them to unlock the locked compartments inside the Sanctuary of the Dark Widow. This unlocked the corresponding deed for me. And after collecting this treasure trove of loot and destroying 1 more cursed mermaid statue, we made our way back to Mars Peak Outpost to turn in our spoils. This haul unlocked me so many commendations: Raging Fire Sail, the Salar Chest of Rage Deed, Merchant of the Banished Ancient Knowledge, Diviner of Banished Ancient Secrets, Hunter of Banished Ancient Goods, Bringer of Banished Ancient Tribute, and Master of Banished Treasures. This was really encouraging, seeing that I was now halfway to finishing these commendations. There were still a few I was yet to complete, however, but we were able to make some more progress on the Trader of Banished Tablets commendation by yet again visiting Laughing Fox Lucia at Ruby's Fall. Our next Eternal God battle was very different from the last ones. We kept our Tridents of the Banished to defeat the Eternal God, and during the midst of the scrap, I was able to unlock the Trident Takedown commendation. And after defeating the Eternal God, snatching the Sanctuary of the Banished Key, and vanquishing yet another crested Queen Megalodon, we made our way to the Sanctuary of the Unending Flame. Upon entering the Sanctuary, I unlocked the Looter of the Sanctuary of the Unending Flame commendation, and the corresponding deed. And after using 2 more Ashen Keys to unlock the locked compartments and hauling all of the loot up to the sloop, we set off to defeat our next Eternal God. Not before a skeleton sloop interrupted us, but we quickly took care of that. And after a small wave of PTSD in a bottle showed up on the beach, we took our weapons to the peak of Fetcher's Rest and got battle ready. At this point, the main commendations I had left required me to kill 10 Eternal Gods, which I'd made good progress on, as well as using 10 hunting spears on them, which I was still at 0 out of 10. Book and I did manage to get some hunting spears. I missed the first one, but managed to hit the second one dead center. And after 3 trips to the ferry, we finally defeated the Eternal God and collected our spoils at Brimstone Rock. And after another trip to Ruby's Fall, I defeated a ruby-cursed mermaid statue and sold the last of the Banished Ancient Rune Tablets. This unlocked the Trader of Banished Tablets commendation. This left me with 7 remaining commendations to unlock. On my final day, I wanted to see how difficult Eternal Gods would be to defeat as a solo player. So, I voted down Merchants, since the merchant loot in the Sanctuaries is excellent for reputation, and I was still a few levels off Distinction 1. I begun by sailing to Shiver Retreat in hope of finding an Ashen Guardian, which I was successful in. I still needed some more Ashen Keys, but I figured I'd worry about them later, and instead I would focus on defeating some more Eternal Gods for now. Ruby's Fall was where I found my next Eternal God. And yeah, these are way more difficult as a solo player, as this took me 12 minutes to defeat with throwing knives and a flintlock. But luck was on my side. When the Eternal God let off his final explosion in defeat, I was launched to the beach, and wouldn't you know, it led me right to an Ashen Guardian, and I was able to get another Ashen Key for my commendation. And after 4 minutes of panic searching the island for the key, I defeated yet another skeleton sloop and headed to the Sanctuary of the Veil. More progress was made on the Thief of Banished Ancients commendation, and all of this loot was enough to easily get me to an almost instant grade 5 Merchant Emissary flag. And after a quick sell at Mars Peak Outpost, I was finally awarded Distinction 1 in the Merchant Alliance, unlocking the Distinguished Merchant commendation and grade 3 in the Prestigious Merchant commendation. This distinction allowed me to collect the final promotion in the Merchant Alliance, which unlocked the Trader's Prosperity costume, which looked rather flash on Jim Swan. I was feeling good where I was standing on my progress at this time, but I figured I could knuckle down, grin and bear it, and achieve the final commendations I needed for Season 18, Act 1. And after a small walk and reading a chapter of the Athena's Fortune novel, I was ready to set sail with my crewmate Zen. This time, we decided to sail as an emissary for the Gold Hoarders, as I was only a few levels from reaching Distinction 2. After supplying up our ship, we suffered heavy damage to our sloop when the island we were sitting at suddenly erupted, and after lots of repairing and bailing many buckets of water, we were able to awaken our first Eternal Guard of the day. Unfortunately, I forgot to stock up on hunting spears, so I got a bit behind on that commendation, but we were still able to defeat the Eternal Guard without them and claim the Sanctuary key. Luckily though, as we were sailing away, we were invaded by another skeleton sloop which had a hunting spear on board, and after a quick stop at the outpost to stock up our armory, we brought our 6 hunting spears to the next battle. Halfway during the battle, the island's volcano erupted, so Zen had to stay behind to protect our ship, while I ventured alone into the island, which had become a hot mess. Luckily, the volcano wasn't active for too long, and Zen was able to return to the battlefield, and it didn't take too long to defeat the Eternal Guard after that. At Mars Peak Outpost, we sold our modest stash of loot. This time we were able to sell our Sanctuary of the Banished keys to progress the provision of the Banished keys commendation, leaving us at 2 out of 3 keys sold. We were able to find another hunting spear we would need after taking down a skeleton galleon, which was put to good use during our next battle. After defeating the 10th Eternal Guard, I was awarded with the Eternal Fighter commendation, leaving only a few commendations left. After narrowly escaping another eruption, we completed a legendary Voyage of Luck and dug up a chest of fortune, which we promptly sold at Galleon's Grave Outpost. We also made sure to sell our 3rd and final Sanctuary of the Banished key, unlocking the Provisioner of Banished keys commendation. And now, it was time to fish for some Ashen keys, so we begun the shores of Goldhall Tale. We also purchased our final hunting spear we would need for the hunting the Banished commendation, and once we made it through the Devil's Shroud, we quickly got to work fishing for our final Ashen keys. I managed to find an old boot, while Zen found an Ashen key for us. I did actually find an Ashen key, but I was too far away from it and the line snapped before I could grab it, which was unbelievably frustrating. And it took ages to find the next Ashen key, and I'm talking like 45 minutes. Eventually Zen caught one, which felt amazing, and before long we were bound for the Devil's Roar to finish my final 5 commendations. And after a quick brawl with the hungering one Megalodon, we were able to pick up some Megalodon meat and another hunting spear, which was a relief to me actually because it gave me a second chance just in case I missed with the first one. Fetcher's Rest was where we found our next Eternal Guard. Using the hunting spears, I was able to unlock the Hunting the Banished and Eternal Warrior commendations. The final sanctuary we would visit was the Sanctuary of the Dark Widow at Cinder Islet. It didn't take long, however, though, before we reached Emissary Grade 5 for the Gold Hoarders as we collected the loot inside. This unlocked me the Grade 5 Unrivaled Emissary of Gold Commendation, and once Zen unlocked the final compartment with the Ashen Key, I was awarded with the Thief of the Banished Ancients Commendation, along with the Sanctuary Invader and Master of Banished Ancient Secrets Commendations. After our final sell at Mars Peak, I finally achieved Distinction 2 for the Gold Hoarders and Grade 4 for the Hunter of the Great Maw Commendation. However, I still had one deed for Act 1 left to complete, which required us to attack a siren while using the Trident of the Banished. Zen and I agreed that the best and most exciting way to do this would be to visit a sunken treasury, as you can have guaranteed siren spawns as well as a fun battle. And it wasn't long until we arrived at the Treasury of the Lost Ancients and defeated a siren using the Trident, and successfully completed all deeds for Act 1, earning me a Dark Discovery trinket for my ship. With every commendation now complete, I was able to purchase the cosmetics tied to these commendations. This included Saltbone Elias's hook, Laughing Fox Lucia's mask, the Chest of Banished Tribute disguise, and the Mark of the Widow tattoo. Much like the last video, the biggest lesson I can take away from this commendation set is patience. You've got to be kidding me. Okay, where were we? As I was saying, patience is key to enjoying life in the Sea of Thieves, as things are never instant. You must work hard for what you want, and that feeling of achievement you get from completing a commendation, or even being able to save up enough gold for the cosmetics you want, makes it all worth it. Commendations like this also force you to learn ways of dealing with PvE and adapting quickly if the tables don't turn in your favor. This season has brought so much to the table and the lore is getting juicy, so I can't wait to cover the story of these banished ancients in my next video. But that's all for now. Before you leave though, I would greatly appreciate it if you consider liking, commenting, and subscribing to the channel, because it helps me to gain some traction as a new channel. And as always, fair winds and smooth sailing to all of you. Farewell, mateys.